As a security guard at St. Michael's Hospital, I never expected to encounter anything supernatural. But that night in the East Wing, the hallway began to stretch endlessly before my eyes. The doors repeated in an infinite loop while the lights flickered. And then I saw that spectral old woman floating near a doorway, pointing into the darkness with her bony finger.
You're entering Universe Paranormal, where the unknown comes to life.
I've been working as a security guard at St. Michael's General Hospital for 5 years, and I've never encountered anything like this before. It all started during my regular night rounds in the East Wing, the oldest section of the building. Most staff avoid this area at night, as many patients have died here over the years. The main corridor has always felt particularly unsettling, with its flickering fluorescent lights and the echo of footsteps bouncing off the walls. That night, as I walked down the third-floor hallway, I noticed something strange. The corridor, which normally ends at an emergency exit, seemed to stretch beyond its usual length. At first, I thought it was just shadows or fatigue playing tricks on my mind, but as I walked forward, the hallway kept extending before me. The doors to the rooms began to repeat themselves, as if I was walking in an endless loop. I stopped for a moment to get my bearings. The clock showed 3 in the morning, the dead hour as the nurses call it. The silence was absolute, except for the humming of lights and the distant dripping of a pipe. I decided to turn back, but when I did, the hallway had extended in that direction too. I was trapped in a never-ending corridor. Suddenly, I heard the creak of a door opening behind me. When I turned, I saw an elderly woman in a hospital gown watching me from the doorway. Her skin was gray, and her eyes were sunken as if she had been dead for days. I stood frozen as she pointed toward the end of the hallway with a bony finger. The temperature dropped dramatically, and the air became thick, like breathing through a wet filter. The lights began to go out one by one, creating darkness that advanced toward me from both ends of the hallway. The sound of metal wheels alerted me to the presence of gurneys moving on their own, carrying forms covered with stained sheets. Monitors in the room started emitting code blue alerts, while shadows slid under the doors. Distorted voices whispered names and room numbers that didn't exist. The old woman remained there, motionless, her finger pointing into the darkness like a sinister warning. I tried to use my radio to call for help, but only received static and unintelligible whispers. My flashlight flickered and died, leaving me with a dim light of the few remaining working lamps. The hallway seemed to breathe, the walls expanding and contracting as if I were inside a living organism. The floor tiles began to crack, and black liquid seeped from the fissures. The smell of disinfectant was replaced by the stench of decay and expired medications. The room doors started slamming open and shut violently, as if an invisible storm was shaking the building. The elderly woman took a step toward me, and I could see her feet weren't touching the ground. Her gown billowed without wind, and her face transformed into a mask of pain and suffering. More spectral figures emerged from the rooms, all pointing in the same direction, all wearing the same expression of agony. The hallway narrowed and expanded like an accordion, distorting my perception of reality. The walls whispered stories of forgotten patients, failed operations, souls lost in the eternal corridors of the hospital. The air became so cold I could see my breath, forming grotesque shapes that vanished in the gloom. I don't know how long I was trapped in that limbo of horror. When I finally regained consciousness, they found me lying on the floor of the normal hallway, near the emergency exit. Nobody believed my story, but since then, the East Wing remains closed at night. Sometimes, when I pass nearby, I can hear the echo of footsteps and the whisper of hospital gowns dragging along a hallway that never ends.